Welcome back, guys. Welcome back to the channel Interisti. How are you guys doing? This is another news segment video today, just to update you guys on what's going on in the world of Inter, incomings and outgoings. Before we get into it, make sure you leave a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. The big news is today, the one that we kick off the video with, is we know when Inter will officially return from preseason. I know, guys, we're tired of Inter. We're tired of football, probably. This Club World Cup isn't even over. But Inter will be back, as announced today, officially by Inter on the 26th of July to begin pre-season. So, yeah, good length of break for the players, almost a whole month for the players. And I think this 26th July will be for the players that didn't partake in pre-season. And then I'm guessing maybe the other players will come a few days later. So, yeah, very good. I think length of time for the players to recharge the batteries, get going again. It is after most Serie A clubs. You've seen Milan have already come back for their preseason. Napoli will be back soon. So Inter will be the last team to come back, obviously, because we had this Club World Cup, us and Juve. So that was always going to be the factor in this decision. But hopefully it doesn't really play too much of a factor in the upcoming season, which I think would have if we kept going ahead in the Club World Cup. So that is the news. That is the date for you guys to put down on your calendars, 26th of July, when pre-season begins and Christian Kivu and his backroom staff can start implementing their ideas, and the new players that will be coming in, we'll get to start to seeing them. So I'm looking forward to that. We still have a little bit of a break to that. Then let's move on to other pressing news. Of course, Hakan Calhanoglu. What is going to happen to our beloved Hakan? Is he staying? Is he going? Galatasaray signing him or not? So according to Gazzetta here, Inter have given Hakan and his team an ultimatum. The club does not want this saga to carry on to pre-season. Here it says around July 22nd. So now we know it's July 26th. So hopefully that can be resolved, whether he's staying or whether he's going, because it could, as I said, this is Pazza Inter. He could, after all of this drama, after all of this, what it seemed like point of no return, Hakan posted videos of himself, in training, recovering from his injury. It's not impossible that he ends up staying. And again, if he wants to stay, if he's fully committed 110% to Inter, and he's happy to stay at Inter, and of course Kivu wants him to stay at Inter, everything, then keep Hakan. Yes, he had an off year last year, injuries, form-wise. But as we're seeing all these players to replace Hakan, the names, yeah, I don't know. I'm not fully convinced that you can, upgrade or even go sideways on the reduced version of Hakan Calhanoglu, even at 31 years of age. A guy that we haven't heard much about, Tajon Buchanan, who was allowed by Inter to stay with the Canadian national team, to partake in the Gold Cup, which actually did very well for Canada. He was one of the standout players, if not the standout player for Canada, from what in terms of the output numbers and the highlights I saw. Villarreal, we knew it when we sold him to Villarreal with the option to buy. We all knew that it was very unlikely that it was going to be taken. The whole Lazaro situation again flashes in front of our eyes. Apparently Inter won 15 million euros, which is even more than I think the option to buy for Villarreal was. So I don't know how Inter came up with this figure. I think we signed this guy for around 7-8 million euros. If you get that money back, don't try to wait around too much and try to negotiate. I think if you get 10 million euros, take it. Just let's move on. Yeah, we've got, in that position now, we've got Zalewski, who can cover both wing back positions if needed. Can also play in midfield behind the strikers. I don't really see the space for Tajon, even if Denzel Dumfries is sold, because a player with his characteristics is now here with Luis Enrique. There's no way that, we should now. There's just no way for him, his career. I just think he never fitted into Inter. In terms of his personality, I don't know how he fitted into the dressing room. Italian football, I don't think is specifically suited for him. Maybe Spain. He did have a good little loan stint in Villarreal, so maybe Spain is good for him, and also Bundesliga is also potentially good for him. So hopefully we can sell Tajon, because of course we do need to make some sales as well in this summer. And by the way, guys, keep a lookout. I will be making the Excel sheet video, the yearly, every summer on this channel. I do a breakdown of Inter's kind of Excel sheet of the squad cost, the salaries, and potential projections of how the summer could look, what we can actually do, just to inform you guys on how things work out. So keep a lookout on the channel for that video. I'm probably going to shoot it later today or tomorrow on how that will work. Oh yeah, Musiala's injury, man, that was real nasty. I don't know if you guys saw it. Prayers out to him. Hopefully recovers soon. Gazzetta also saying that Inter Marotta are crazy about Giovanni Leoni. Of course, we've been linked with this boy now for over a year. We should have signed him last summer from Sampdoria for 5-6 million euros. We missed the boat on that. We took the L by signing Thomas Palacios instead. It is what it is. But now that mistake could cost you 30 or even 40 million euros, according to the reports. Parma wanting for this guy, who, potentially looks like the new Bastoni in terms of the future of the Italian national team at the back. So by default, by de facto, Parma playing on that, using that, banking on that, and rating him really, really highly. Even when we signed Bastoni, that was a lot of money for a guy that we signed Bastoni even before he had the loan stint at Parma, which is funny, the coincidence between Leoni and Bastoni. So it doesn't mean that just because but Leoni doesn't have that much of a pedigree, Parma shouldn't be rating him that high. It is a little bit overpriced, but it's all about the future value, the potential, and I think clearly Inter see that potential in him, and so do Parma. So that's going to be a difficult negotiation. And for Inter, I only really see him as a center back option. I don't think he's very tall. He's not particularly quick. If you're going to use him in terms of lateral movements, I really see him as that long-term replacement for De Vrij and Acerbi when they leave. An alternative, Conny de Winter, who actually I see him more as one of the right centre back, left centre back options. He is a lot more athletic and comfortable moving into those lateral positions. He's valued 30 million by Genoa. Valentin Carboni could be inserted into this deal. Let's see how that works out. I think Carboni would be ideal if it's a loan to Genoa. I don't really want to sell Carboni at this moment in time. Asllani, now this one has been heating up over the last couple of days. It's actually turned from Real Betis in Spain, not just monitoring Asllani. It's actually turned into them potentially actually putting in an offer for Asllani. And here, Sky Sport, ABC de Sevilla. So the previous tweet was from Sky Sport Italia, but this is from Spain. And they were claiming, so we're not sure about the source, but they were claiming that they're in advanced talks for Asllani, offering a similar deal to how we sold Agume to Sevilla. So 6 to 8 million for a significant portion of his rights, while allowing Inter to maintain a percentage of the future resale. So it would be 6-8 million maybe for his, to buy him, but then Inter would hold 50% of his future rights or future sale, resale, like we have done for Agume. But then Real Betis can buy more of that. So for 5, I think Sevilla they're just about to potentially pay 5 more million to Inter to buy, to get Inter out from their resale clause within Agume's contract. So it could be a deal like that. So it sounds really cheap, and I think the base is a little bit less, like just 8 million, but with those kind of clauses in there, you're potentially talking about the 15 million euro valuation that I think Inter value him at. Some people are saying Inter won 20 million euros, but I think 15-16 is probably more realistic with Asllani, someone that we did sign from Empoli for 14-15 million 3 years back, and his value hasn't really increased, which we know is his lack of development under Inzaghi, whether that was his fault or Inzaghi's fault or both. Fabrizio Biazin, Inter insider, says that the Betis interest is real and the two clubs have not yet spoken about a fee. And he says Inter value him at 18 to 20 million euros, which would be great. Would be great if we can get 18 to 20 million euros to reinvest in a replacement for Asllani. Højlund doesn't want to leave, according to Romano, doesn't want to leave Man United. That's great. Let's move on straight past that. I'm happy with that. And now let's talk about this, the Samba dreams of Inter, of Ederson from Atalanta. And this is coming from Sky Sport, good source in Italy. And this is not the only time we've been linked with him now this summer. There's been a few mentions from different sources that Inter want Ederson Moraes from Atalanta, a guy that I wanted a few years back when he was at Salernitana. People who follow me on Twitter will know, especially as a mezzala back in those days, there was a lot of potential for this guy. Even from Salernitana, I think Atalanta paid quite a bit, 16, 18 million euros from Salernitana, who got relegated. So it shows you how good he was already back then. And he's got better, but actually in a deeper role. It's just surprising. I did not see this potential of Ederson in a deeper role, but still, he's not a regista. So if Inter are looking to sign Ederson, or the other names I'm hearing are Morten Frendrup from Genoa. We're also seeing Rovella and Stella would be more regista level, but Frendrup, Morten Hjulmand from Sporting Lisbon, former Lecce guy, and Ederson. This to me sounds like if we sign these players, Inter are looking to move to a double pivot formation. So it would be a 3-4-2-1 or a 3-4-1-2, which is the formation that Ederson plays in. He plays alongside De Roon, the Dutch midfielder at Atalanta. Is either De Roon or Pasalic. And usually Ederson is the guy. Well, if it's Pasalic, Ederson is the one playing the deeper role. But if it's De Roon, Ederson is the one that's allowed to roam up and down, duel win, and cause havoc in the box, in the opposition box as well. Come up with goals and assists. In the Inter's 3-5-2 as a regista, guy that has to touch the ball 80, 90, 100 times in the game. I don't really see Ederson playing that role. Yes, he could develop that, but if you're spending 50 million plus to develop a player in that position, yeah, I don't see that happening. I think if this goes ahead, that is Inter's way of saying we can't get a like-for-like CDM regista. We're going to go for slightly different characteristics and change up the midfield. So let's see how that develops. Going back to Hakan, he is on holiday at the moment, I think in Turkey with Jan Sommer here. And funnily enough, Jan Sommer has had the rumors coming up in the last few days of Galatasaray as well. So maybe they want a 2-in-1 package of Hakan plus Sommer. And I think Inter probably would be open to selling him for a minimal fee to maybe make Pep Martinez number one goalkeeper. Who knows? Let's see. Again, if Jan Sommer feels like his time at the top level in the top 5 league is done and he wants to continue earning good money, but with slightly different expectations and competition level, then it could also be time to sell him before we get to the Handanovic level, before we see the decline and we're all like, man, we needed to sign a replacement for him before. So Inter sometimes need to, be more proactive. We don't want to see Handanovic situation again. And then Christian Kivu also was able to finally speak to the directors face-to-face properly, because since the Club World Cup started, since he was appointed, he hasn't really had time to really plan for next season. It's all about being planning for the Club World Cup because of the timing when he came in. So actually, the other day, Christian Kivu was able to go into HQ, had a nearly 2.5 hour market summit at the club's headquarters to discuss the transfer window. And here is what FC Inter News, again, take everything with a pinch of salt, but FC Inter News claim this is what the discussions were between Auxilio and his right-hand man, Bachin and Kivu. So the departures that are possible, the obvious one, Calhanoglu, Asllani, but also one of Pavard and Bisseck. And speaking of Pavard, I think we saw the tweet earlier that said Inter decided not to take any action towards Pavard for playing paddle when, it probably shouldn't have been. But anyway, he's a potential one to leave. And I think it would be either Bisseck and Pavard, both of them take up the same position. It wouldn't be both of them. It would be one of those two. Dumfries, we know, we've talked about it, that this release clause is there. And actually, Matteo Barzaghi from Sky Sports today confirmed that release clause is not till the 15th of July. It's actually until the end of July. So even worse. It might be 30 million euros by the end of July, but actually the clause is longer than initially expected, which is weird. Like, these journalists are they getting the wrong information, or they're getting fed the wrong information, or are they just kind of toying with us? I'm not sure. But again, that's even worse news in terms of Dumfries. The club would consider offers between 65 and 70 million euros for Thuram, which I think is fair. I was never on the... I'm not sure whether I was. I'll have to look back at my comments throughout the season, but I don't think... Maybe at the beginning of the season when Thuram was on fire, but I've never bought into the fact that Inter need to remove the clause from Thuram's contract, like 80, 85 million euro clause. Like, I think that's fair for Thuram, and I don't think he's ever looked like he's going to hit that 20 plus goal a season striker. He just doesn't look like he's got it in him to be that type of guy. So 65, 70 million euro offer comes around for Thuram. Yeah, that is fair, especially at his age, 27 now. Again, a guy that I'm questioning how hungry he is and how committed he is to Inter in the way that he's been performing the last 5-6 months. And the last news is that Frattesi stays, which is something that we've seen in the news last few weeks, that Kivu is more open to give Frattesi more playing time compared to Inzaghi. And we know that Frattesi and Inzaghi didn't see eye to eye. So let's see. But I think, Frattesi does seem to have demand and a market for him. So let's see how the things develop in the Frattesi. I think if big teams do come for him and if Roma come for him, the team that he probably does want to play for, things could change. But it looks like maybe this time around he's not going to push for a move. He's going to see how things play out on the Kivu first. And then, of course, the very sexy name that Inter fans have been talking about a lot, I've seen on social media, Richard Rios, who has once again caught attention at the Club World Cup. He caught attention last summer. I remember Copa America for Colombia. He was catching the attention of many teams and many people. And it's happened once again. And it's been confirmed that Inter like him. Palmeiras won at least around 25 to 30 million euros for this guy. Roma are also interested in this guy. Lots of other European teams are interested in the guy. But at the moment, nothing concrete from Inter side. But again, here, Matteo Moretto says if Calhanoglu leaves, the Colombian could become a serious possibility. But Roma slightly behind Inter in terms of the interest. Again, this is a player that points to me as a double pivot player. If you're talking about replacing Calhanoglu, it means like you're going to play Barella plus Sucic or this replacement. Because again, this doesn't strike to me as a guy coming in ready to be a CDM. More and more rumors coming out of Sebastiano Esposito. Of course, there was the Fiorentina interest, Cagliari interest. Now there's also interest from France, Ligue 1, from Lens. So, it's good. Finally, you had a good loan stint for once. The loans have actually worked out well this past summer. Stankovic, Esposito, we're actually going to make money out of these guys. Also, some interest for Thomas Palacios from Turkish side Rizespor. He definitely needs to be loaned out. We need to see what happens with him. Again, here, confirmation of the Denzel Dumfries clause. It's at the end of the month. Jan Bisseck, so many release clauses. We're talking about the clauses of Dumfries, the clause of Thuram, and here's another one. Bisseck has a 120 million release clause valid during July. I don't think we need to really worry about this one. I think that's a very generous release clause, Spanish-style release clause. And Nico Skira, finishing up in terms of Ederson, he's even claiming that Inter have opened up the talks with the agent of Ederson, potential deal until 2030 worth 4 million euros plus bonuses per year. The Brazilian is the main target in case of Hakan's departure. So we're getting more and more sources confirming this is the guy Inter want to replace Hakan. Now, finishing up, guys, do you see Ederson as the replacement of Hakan in the 3-5-2? Maybe I'm looking at it differently. Maybe they're looking at Sucic as the replace. We already have the Hakan replacement in Sucic and Barella. We know Barella's played that position in the past. And I see long term when Barella gets older, I think that is going to be the position that he can play in. So Inter planning to move him there, Barella plus Sucic as CDM, and then Ederson as the Mezzala. That could make actually a lot of sense for me because I just don't see Ederson in that position. Or is it what you guys or I said is a change of formation? We're going to go for a much more physical, athletic midfield. Barella, Sucic, Ederson, Frendrup, Mkhitaryan, and no one with one clear role. Is just two midfielders, two centre mids running around, winning the ball back, dual winning, trying to do swapping roles in between in the game. One drops deeper, the other one goes up. and then we let the two guys behind them striker or the one guy behind the two strikers do the magic. Is that what Inter are moving at? Is that what you would do? Let me know in the comments down below. It's an interesting summer up ahead. Look out for the videos coming up. Always, Forza Inter. Leave a thumbs up.